There
It's the
it is.
Hive Playboy calendar.
Yes, exactly. That's the
We've
Playboy
got-
calendar.
we've got March and April here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're taking applications for the rest of the month.
Exactly. Yeah. September and October.
Yeah. So I mean, should we even ask you guys questions? Do you just want to sit there
Yeah.
and look pretty?
I would just like to look pretty for a while.
You just want to look pretty for a while. Okay, so we've opted out.
All
So
right.
you guys just got off the stage. You just did a presentation. Do you want to tell the people who were here, kicking it on the live stream, what you were talking about? Do you want to do that? Because I mean, it could be. You've got these nice honeycomb shirts on.
Yeah,
I
we,
feel like
we talked about stuff.
I can see this is going to be an absolutely thrilling and interview.
It seems like the thing people actually responded well to was the account creation stuff we want to create, which is we want to create a closed loop onboarding process, right? And so rather than just like being like, hey, you should join Hive, we want a better onboarding ramp. And so what that looks like is a QR code that you can share that's like linked to your profile, right? It just takes you to your contact card, nothing special there. But if you don't have an account, you would be taken into an onboarding flow where all you need to do is choose a username and copy your password somewhere. And the person whose QR code you scanned, who's recruiting you onto the blockchain, they're going to get a notification to approve that account request, either using their ACTs or Hive. And if they don't have any resources, they could forward that request on to, maybe a sponsor account that has hundreds of ACTs. And so, and the person who signed up will see that their status is pending. They won't be wondering what's going on, right? And once they're approved, they'll be notified of that. So it's just closing the loop on when you're trying to recruit somebody onto the blockchain. You're explaining how great it is, and then they go try and actually join the blockchain, and it.
There's definitely a breakdown there.
Yeah,
for sure.
So
Hang on here for a second, because of course this is a concept that I'm familiar with too, just because I really like Hive Invite. This is one of those things.
Yeah.
It's a tool for you guys watching. All of these tools kind of allow you to let somebody else create an account. You broadcast the transaction, but you never deal with their keys, and I think that's a big one,
Right.
because up until this point, a lot of the time, you as a creating an account would have to have some contact with
Right.
keys, which we don't want. But you mentioned ACTs, and many people might not actually know what that is. So do you want to kind of dial it back and explain that?
Account creation tokens are a token that allow you to create an account, and to get these ACTs, you need to have some sufficient amount of Hive power that would yield some sufficient amount of resource credit that would allow you to claim these ACTs. So we've added a claim ACT button to this flow so that if you are a sufficiently sized account with a sufficient amount of resource credits, which is kind of dark magic in terms of calculating, it's not really just like a number that you can know. So the button will try. And if your account has enough RCs, it'll go through, and if you don't, it just fails.
All you can do is try.
Yeah.
But so there you go. That's a great way of putting it. Is now it's part of that flow. So it's like, hey, here we go. I'm going to onboard someone. Oh, I gotta be active in the process. Fantastic. Yeah. All right. So what else? We've got onboarding, and you're right. Everybody's interested in that. It's definitely a struggle right now, and the expectation is that every DApp does its own onboarding, or every project or service puts up the investment to be able to onboard, and that works. It does. It works. But in terms of people who stumble on us socially and organically, or who are being brought by friends who are just discovering things or don't have the resources, that is pretty much a brick wall right now. So I think this and some of the other sort of up-and-coming solutions are fantastic, and I'm sure people in chat will have comments about this. What's your current favorite way of onboarding, and how does this sound to you? But yeah, probably talk a little bit about Honeycomb, because it's been a little bit since we kind of heard about what's happening around the Deluxe ecosystem, what you guys are building. You got these really cool shirts.
Yeah.
So, I don't know,
we got
talk a little bit about
shirts now.
that. We got shirts now.
Yeah, you can't get them, but
What if they become a calendar boy?
exclusive for calendar purchasers.
All right, so we have exactly 10 more shirts that we can allocate if you're really, really, really ridiculously good looking.
All right, so just in the world of crypto, we're familiar with like the bears. We used to rely on a centralized IPFS service provider, and this provider just went off the market. So we lost a lot of our ability to, do what Deluxe was supposed to do. And it was around the same time that Matt and Dan from 3Speak got a hold of me and were like, hey, we need to build a decentralized file storage system. And I was like, yes, we do in fact. So most of the new work in the last year in terms of Honeycomb and all of this has been really to set up the Speak network so that we can get decentralized file storage in the wild and utilize it. And as soon as we have that, it's like, when you buy your cell phone and it doesn't have any memory on it, and as soon as you buy that little memory card, you can install apps and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it's going to be like. Well, I hope at least. But yeah, right now you have this Hive thing, and you're like, oh, cool, I can make a phone call with it. But hopefully in the future it'll be like, oh, I can play Flappy Bird with this, where it's really important. So
I love this metaphor. I'm not saying it ages you, but it may age you slightly. I mean, that's all I know is Flappy Bird too, so don't get me wrong. I'm right there with you.
I'm old.
What is the hot mobile thing for kids now?
OnlyFans.
Oh no. Fair enough. Do you have an equivalent for that?
Oh yeah, Hive Calendar Boys.
It's already started just now.
All right. Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
Maybe we can ask you guys actually.
Yeah.
Maybe because I seen this idea that you said about having us, if you have some spare storage on your hard drive, right?
Right.
What you we can talk about the storage, right? About how people can actually basically have the hard drive somewhere there, and they can basically use it and just for actually earning crypto in real life. you know.
This is going back to the Speak network, and what anybody should be able to do is say I'm going to store things that I'm interested in. So you store it. Now the thing that makes proof of access work is that there are elected people called validators who will ask the people who say they're going to store a file to prove that they have that file. There's going to be some crypto magic in there to get a pseudorandom code that everybody can verify, and that code will help the actual file content develop a certain number that will only work with that first input from the validator. And at that point, you send that hash back to the validator who asked you to prove that you have the content, and all of the people who have that content will have roughly the same number, which means we can verify. If anybody else asks that person if they have that content, it'll have a different key. It'll come back with a different response. So you, as a person who's supposed to hold a 1,000 gigabyte file, won't be able to just store a key and say oh, of course I have this 1,000 gigabyte file. But the proof for this is still just that short little thing that we have to, anytime the lottery comes up. And so those lottery, it's like a raffle. You just put all of the tickets in there and it comes out and you're like, all right, you had 2% of the file stored, so you get 2% of the rewards. And that's really it is. That's all it is. If you have space on your hard drive and an internet connection, you will be able to sell that space, and that's just how it will work.
As complicated as all that sounds, designing a way for a user to utilize that is also complicated because users today don't have the mental model of, oh, well, the closest analog that I could really wrap my head around is Napster or Kazaa, right? Where
Yes.
you were literally downloading files from someone else's computer.
Yes.
And so, people have that as a mental model and they can kind of understand it from there. But then you have to talk to them in terms of well, which files do you want to store? Kind of like when you go to Kazaa, right, you have an incentive. I want this song, so I'm going to go find it and I'm going to download it. And hopefully somebody else who wanted that song is hosting it, right? And so now you have to kind of map that to what does a community user interface look like to control how the files that we as a community want to store are stored and are accessible, and the files that maybe we as a community don't want to store don't get stored, maybe some other community could go store them, but that's the choice that each person should get to have when they interact with these types of platforms. And so you, as somebody with a spare hard drive, should be able to control which files you want to store, just like I should be able to see which files I actually want to pay to have stored, right? And so Hive is really great in that all of the underlying incentive mechanisms are there to be designed into, what we would hope becomes a magical user experience where you don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to think about where are my files stored. You should always be able to dig into that if you care, but a lot of people don't care as long as they get their file. If that makes sense.
And if you remember Napster or LimeWire, you remember that clicking on like Numb Linkin Park actually was just robot aids.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 1000%. I don't even know how many times I nuked my parents' computer. Shocking.
So,
Absolutely a nightmare.
so part of that is saying like, oh, my computer has robot aids. I can find exactly who uploaded that file and say like that was Mark.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Bad actor.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, but you know what? Like, all sort of jokes aside, that's actually incredibly valuable because, again, you're not just incentivizing relationships, you're not just aligning incentives, you're also actually able to remove bad actors from the equation. So that's fantastic as well, and it's something that's inherent to Hive is part of that incentivization structure.
Yeah, there's also
and
tons of viruses,
reputations, right?
Like, so that's actually like help you to be more secure as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we was talking about probably Emule, Casa, like in the past, torrents even, like in these days, a lot of this open public torrents, this is like basically getting all the IP addresses, they know where you are, they know.
Don't download open torrents from the internet. This is financial advice. Don't do it.
Yes, exactly. Because a lot of these stuff, like basically have viruses, malwares, Trojans, whatever is there. There's tons of new names and stuff. And up here, it's like, oh, I can be like more secure. It's not like open, it's not like, there is this torrents website. Anyone can go, even 3 years old can go and download whatever they want. It's open. You don't have
Where
to
are the
register.
parents?
Yes, exactly. Where are the parents? Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, that's like a financial advice. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Hold on. So there is something that I wanted to ask you guys about this because I think it's kind of like a glaring, obvious thing, and so you've probably already thought about it and already have the most perfect of answers, and that is that when you are a content creator and you run the risk of being deplatformed, you run the risk of losing all of your content, and for many of those people, they are, say, YouTubers with video content. So in this case, this kind of feels like you are prepped to have sort of a reason for onboarding and to go to a creator and say, hey, listen, why don't you incentivize your community to store your videos? That's incredibly powerful. Have you guys kind of thought about that as sort of the main route into spreading this tech, or what do you guys feel? How do you feel about that?
I don't think about marketing. Let Mark think about
Perfect.
marketing.
Amazing.
Uh,
A+ answers from the developer.
I mean, not a week goes by where another person isn't demonetized or deplatformed, right?
Yes.
So like last week it was Russell Brand.
That's right.
And it's just, it never,
They can cancel us.
yeah,
We are on centralized.
exactly.
We need to make sure that we incentivize them.
Because this is the only way we can do that, right?
I'm
Right.
back in the sun again.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
We are basically like right now live on YouTube, right? We can be
Exactly.
canceled any moment.
Yes,
Any
very
moment.
True. Very true.
And so you usually end up getting canceled,
Around.
right? The people who get canceled are the people speaking out against, what the big tech censorship bubble doesn't want spoken out against. So that's why we're seeing it with Russell Brand, but it can happen to anyone. And these content creators, they go to these lengths to build all this content and build this community, and it can be turned off instantly. And so the Speak Network thing is a major pain point being solved in terms of owning how your content is actually decentralized. That's how your content is actually decentralized. But Deluxe goes even further than that and says, hey, take our PWA, our progressive web app, and clone that, right? Like, so we want to empower people to not only have decentralized storage, but also be able to decentralize the front end. If you're Russell Brand, you might not want to come to Hive, but maybe you want to use Hive as a technology backbone for your website. And then you bring your 6 million followers to that website, call it whatever you want, you know, Russell Coin or whatever, and
Branded content?
Brand coin, and you slap your name on it, right? And you know, we need to transcend Hive being like this thing and really know, because it is a cool community, but it's a technology, right? And so just knowing that somebody could use that technology in the manner you're describing to be censorship resistant, like that's the core of Deluxe honeycomb open source technology.
Yeah. So the question is how are you going to get our guys to get out there and start spreading this word for you? Like, so for people watching, they get it. They understand it. It makes complete sense. How do we drive it? How do we do it?
We need to focus on features, again, not on technologies. So that's why when we talk about features, we talk about censorship resistance, we talk about decentralized file storage, we talk about the fact that you can post any type of content, photo, video, augmented reality, virtual reality, extended reality, Apple's headsets coming next year, right? So really staying on the cutting edge of like, what are all the types of content people actually want to make? What are all the types of experiences people actually want to consume? And always talking about that, right? Knowing what consumer behaviors are and trying to capture that through talking about features, we feel is like always the right way. And we do think that we're, with Speak Network and with this decentralized file stuff, we're finally getting to a point where we could go after a big fish like Russell Brand, right? And then once you have something like that and they're saying, oh yeah, this person is using this technology stack to drive these magical new experiences that previously weren't possible, then you're sort of transcending what that technology conversation is. Because we're all techies here and we all get it, but you know, most normies, crypto isn't an incentive. It might even be a detractor. They might have, you know, heard of scams or all these other, you know, crypto's been painted in a very negative light. And so finding the way to maybe not make it about the crypto, maybe not make it about the tech stack, but make it about the features that get enabled by that tech stack. You know, that's what Apple's always done really good at, and that's what I think the best marketers they do. They hit on that insight of what is that moment, that aha thing that gives, you know, a person that pregnant pause of like, oh, this is working in a way that I never thought it was possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Awesome.
Cool, guys.
You're
Hold on.
doing, like, you're actually creating your own matrix, decentralized matrix.
I'm gonna be the annoying guy because I obviously really love the VR aspect of things, and I know that's sort of out of focus for, you know, given that this is the cool stuff that you're working on. But like, is there any other Deluxe VR AR news? His face, if he could light me on fire right now.
Absolutely.
Ah, yes!
You can sit down here and actually say this news. Actually stand up in the right moment.
Well, we already know that Meta changed their entire name to Meta just to take part in like the metaverse and to try to own it. And according to them, they spent and lost billions of dollars on this because it is what it is. But now we really think that there's gonna be like a defining moment when the Apple Vision Pro gets released, and we think the space is gonna be ripe for the innovation that we can provide within the next 2 years.
All right. Look at this. You're going to get a chair. Wow. Thank you. Come on in. Come on. This is the chill stream. These guys, come wave for a second. These guys have been working all day. Oh, they're not going to do it. Just wave. You guys are part of the show. They're here. They're watching us. They're listening to us all day. The live streaming crew is amazing. So gracias, guys. You are awesome. So yeah, you get a chair, but you don't get a mic.
I'll say some more.
But so yeah, this is a great point, and I think this is a big pivot. I mean,
Yeah.
Apple, whether we like it or not, Apple tech drives adoption. Is that fair to say?
What they're gunning for is another iPhone moment, right? And so there were smartphones that existed before the iPhone, but the iPhone made it a required technology. Once you had people in your office using an iPhone, once the white collar working class sort of adopted it, it went crazy. And so Apple's really hoping for another iPhone moment with the headset where if they could just get enough initial users on board, then that's going to create a feedback loop of everybody wanting to hop on board. And so they really are going to try and create another iPhone moment here where, if you watch their keynote, it was not about gaming. It was about using FaceTime and iMessage and productivity, all of the things Meta was pitching for years, but never had any of the actual services in place.
And also, they're just really uncool.
Oh yeah, they're so
terminally uncool.
But they sold 20 million headsets.
That's true.
So I mean,
have
they did prove a market, but VCs, the money has kind of left the space.
Yeah.
And so Apple announcing their headset is going to cause a lot of money to come back into the space. That's going to cause VCs to come back into the space. And so where we see our opportunity is in this decentralized infrastructure, this decentralization of experiences. I mean, Deluxe on some level is a decentralized app store, right? So not just for AR and VR, any type of app on Deluxe, it's going to be a progressive web app that can do pretty much, that has the same capabilities that Deluxe proper does, right? So Deluxe is an app that makes other apps, and that starts to snowball. And once we're in this headset space where the user interfaces are going to be changing so fast, I mean, we can't even predict what user interfaces are going to look like. Right now, Apple is mapping their 2D interfaces into this headset, but it's going to change so fast. And that's where Deluxe has always taken the position of, literally decentralized, limitless user experiences. Any type of...
That's an acronym.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't catch it.
Yeah. Decentralized, limitless user experiences.
Deluxe.
Yeah, flip the shirt around.
Oh, here we go. This is what you came for. The calendar, the full calendar experience.
Here.
Yeah, you guys thought it was coming off, didn't you?
There it is.
Okay.
There's
so there you go.
The crystal ball. Deluxe.io.
So, I mean, there's so much in this conversation. Gosh, we could have a whole live stream about this all today. Even the same thing, Apple Watch. Nobody had a smartwatch. Nobody wanted a smartwatch, but they made a sexy looking watch, and now everybody has a stupid watch and can't get away from every notification or what. Oh my gosh, look at my sunburn. Yikes. So yeah, that
We're
really,
all lobsters here.
yeah, it really. We are so white, and I'm allowed to say this. We're just, it's hard out here, and you guys can see I'm back in the sun again. So this is a never-ending battle. I'm gonna have to grab the sombrero in a second. But so yeah, thank you. I want this one.
You can't have that one. That's mine.
I know, and now I got your sweat on my head too.
That's not very sweet.
Proof of sweat. POS. So while we're here and we're chatting about it, you kind of touched on a couple things there, but the big one is obviously dApps that make dApps. We live in a world that is dominated by Roblox, and this idea of I build the infrastructure that builds infrastructure, and then I don't have to come up with any new ideas because you are brilliant and you know what you want. How do we capitalize on that? Because people are used to that now. In fact, people are almost looking for those tools. So how do we fix that? How does Deluxe jump in there?
No, you're absolutely right. It's community-driven content, and we see this in it's all kinds of video games launching now are like, hey, here's the sandbox, you go make the content, and it's kind of a product of social media in general, or maybe you could say that social media is more of a market response to how we feel the need to endlessly perform to each other, over and over. And so and we see this in reality TV. We see this everywhere in our, narcissistic self-centered culture, but we love to entertain each other and be entertained by each other. And the suits in Hollywood can think that they know what we want, but a lot of times they don't. Yeah, and the box office this year is showing that. And so very much we're finding that, if you build tools for a community, and the community needs to have users, but I see it almost every week. A company will be like, hey, we're shutting down these servers, and the community backlash, it'll be like a 10-year-old game, and there's still, 3,000 daily active users that are going, no, don't shut down our servers. And then you see these grassroots campaigns spring up to run their own servers, and so we see people running servers to keep these games going because it's just something about the community and the experience, and it's just, it all worked so well for them that they want to keep it going. And so the idea is that we capture something similar, and I think the way we do that is by creating the most open borders, right? Saying, hey, our technology is agnostic of like pretty much any variable you could insert here. And that's where like building all the different bridges to like MetaMask and other tokens or Lightning is really valuable, so that you are kind of being tech agnostic, right? Because again, the technology is not the thing. It's really about those experiences that you're creating with the technology. And so Deluxe, we see just like Roblox, right? Same kind of deal, except that we're literally saying anything you can make for the internet, anything, come post through our system, and now it's in a monetized vessel on the Hive blockchain. It's immutable. Oh, and now you have decentralized storage to go with it. We see that as like pretty undeniable.
Yeah, it's like that track. Like it used to cost $10 million to start a technology company, and then it keeps going lower and lower. We're trying to make it so starting a technology company doesn't cost you anything. In fact, as soon as you post anything, it pays you.
Yeah.
So simple.
It'll pay you. Come do
We
it.
should have had this yesterday.
It's so simple. The files are in the computer.
In the computer.
There you go.
Absolutely.
So, Crepes, I'm trying to be mindful of where we're at because I think we're going to bring the HiQ boys over.
Okay.
So, you've got a captive audience. I'll give your hat back very grudgingly. But while you're here, what do you want to say to everybody live? Because they're watching, they're listening. I know you just had a presentation, but, just...
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
All right. Shield it up.
Chill.
Hi. So we have a proposal right now that's expiring in a week. So there's a new proposal, number 275. You can go check it out, read about it, and hopefully vote for us. It's more this time because we just realized how important like the UX UI is to everything that we do.
I've been working for free.
Yeah, it's time for that to stop. So here we go.
Yeah. And in the new proposal, we're talking about things like, obviously, improvements to our PWA system, improvements to Honeycomb, but that includes this onboarding system we were talking about. It includes building out the fact that, our PWA could make more PWAs. Anything else in that proposal? It's just continued development, right?
Really, yeah, because we really do spend a lot of time just thinking about Hive and Deluxe and Honeycomb and Speak Network, and there's just a lot of mind share that doesn't go towards us being profitable in the rest of our lives.
Yeah, and so I think once we're done with this Speak Network stuff, we are getting straight back into the VR. We're going right back. Oh yeah, because I've been begging. We need to make NFTs, and we need to make a decentralized exchange. I'm like, really? Can we just focus on the VR?
You have one task, and it turns into a giant tree of tasks, and you end up really far down the tree, and then anything up here just.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's in the ballpark. But yes, so that's how I remember Deluxe. And way, way back when on Cyberbuzz, we did a little interview about it. And we were stoked. And I think people still really are. So I think this is the right time to reapproach it. You've got more tools that you've been building, more connections.
Same amount of daily active users as Decentralized.
It's true. They raised billions.
It is true.
Or millions.
You know what? No, we're
tens
joking.
of millions.
We're joking because
Yeah.
Decentraland was, one of those things where a tech reporter got hold of it, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is the future!" Rah!
Yeah.
And yeah, they raised a
Tens of
ridiculous
millions
amount
for
of money,
sure. Yeah.
and no one uses it.
No.
And so the reality is it goes to show you built something that's resilient. It's still here. You built an entire ass company around it, built 4 other projects, and now you get to come back to yours without being, maligned in the press and blown through billions of dollars, and you just pick up where you left off.
Yep.
That's what I'm good at, not blowing through billions of dollars.
Yeah.
My real skill.
Hey, you're killing it.
Yeah.
Killing it. So the breeze is picking up. We're getting close to midday. We've got another sort of round table panel with a moderator. So we know people love to hop on off and check that out. I would love to just be out of the sun for a second. So I think Neo's going to take over, and we're going to kind of wrap up this stream for a little bit.